Awesome. So people are still joining us, but let's get going. And hello to everyone from all around the world, from London to Peru to Poland, Dubai, Colombia. Really nice to have you all here today for our webinar on the autonomous CrowdOS. So we're going to talk through what that is, how it works, and how to get started. And when I say we, that's me. So I'm Philip de Ridder, CEO and founder of BOI. And today I'm joined by Jeff.
Hi, everyone. Jeff Gibbons here, joining from New York today.
Awesome. So what do we have on the menu for today is 4 topics. Why should we even be interested in rewiring growth for companies? What is this autonomous CrowdOS that we've been working on? We'll share some real-world examples from the likes of Walmart to Duolingo, and we're going to show some practical steps and frameworks on how to get started on this. For those that are new to us, just a really quick intro on BOI. So we're an AI-first transformation partner to companies like Coca-Cola, Walmart, Nestle, and some others that you can see on this slide. And we specifically work with them on rewiring how companies innovate, market, and sell in the autonomous age. So in much more specific terms, we're all about AI-first transformation across innovation, marketing, and sales as enterprise functions. And that's also going to be the main topic of today's talk, drawing from all of the experience working with these companies and what we're distilling from that. You might also know us from a big AI summit called Autonomous. We're happy to be organizing the next edition in almost exactly a month from now, December 3rd and 4th. And obviously, you're all invited to join us. We have over 50 plus speakers from the likes of Meta, AWS, Salesforce, etc. And last time we had over 15,000 people joining us across those 2 days. It's fully virtual as well, so you can tune in and out and as and when you want and watch all the recordings afterwards. If you're registered, and either Stino or Jeff will share a link with you where you can get free tickets to our next edition of Autonomous. They will be sharing it in the chat about now, or maybe they have done it already. So let us kick off with why should we even be interested in rewiring growth, and looking at that and just starting with a couple of anecdotal examples to set the scene. So as many of you will have seen, Walmart just opened up its entire product portfolio to be bought directly into ChatGPT. So specifically in the US, ChatGPT has an instant checkout function where now consumers not only discover new products, ask for advice, but actually directly buy products in the conversation in ChatGPT. This will soon be rolled out across other regions in the world, but this is very much a reality right now rather than a potential future scenario. And this is what we call agentic commerce. So this is roughly what it looks like. You would ask ChatGPT to find a great housewarming gift for a friend that you might add some characteristics to that. It would surface products and you can directly buy it through that interface. So agentic commerce is a really big theme. On the other hand, you might see a lot of posts in your LinkedIn feeds with these type of AI agent org charts across marketing, sales, entire SDR teams that are run by AI agents. So a lot of things happening in that space. And in terms of the amount of AI tools, like this is a visual overview that you can't even see anymore of AI tools just only in the marketing space. It's exploding and it's almost impossible to follow. So what we're seeing across companies is that AI isn't just leading to automation and for some people cost savings and efficiency gains, but it's very much also creating a new to-do list for a lot of our clients in terms of how to market to both humans like we've done before, but now increasingly to agents, LLMs in the instant checkout example of ChatGPT that we were just talking about, thinking about always on content generation, how to lead human AI teams, how to get to AI first workflows, how to get to in the moment personalization, and that list keeps on growing every month. So we meet a lot of people that are both feeling the pressure of, well, AI should enable you to do more with less in terms of efficiency gains, automation, but at the same time, there is a lot of adaptation needed and getting ready for all these new possibilities with AI and specifically agentic AI, as some of them mentioned on this slide. And so the key point here is that agentic growth or autonomous growth is very much already here. It's not a future scenario. We've seen many examples of Klarna, both positive as well as misses as well. We have Amazon Rufus as an AI shopping assistant live. We have Spotify's AI DJ, which doubled listener engagement year over year. We have Wendy's voice AI ordering system that they're scaling up this year after a lot of successful pilots. We have L'Oreal's Beauty Genius 24/7 AI beauty assistant with diagnostics, try-ons, guided routines that connect you directly to checkout across product marketing, sales functions, etc. So a lot's happening in this space, and I think the sentiment that we're getting overall is a sentiment of being overwhelmed. So in this webinar, we hope to give you a bit of a view or sense of what to make from all of this, how to stay on top and keep the overview, or give you a framework to map those different stories and trends into, and also practically on where to get started. So if we start at the very beginning, we aren't about AI for efficiencies, which a lot of people are focusing on, and there's definitely value in that. Our focus for today and in general is on how to leverage AI for growth. And if we unpack that a little bit more, that basically breaks down into two big clusters of focus. On the one hand, you can realize growth with AI in terms of launching new AI ventures or new AI native products, or basically the what of what you bring to market as a company. And secondly, it breaks down into rewiring your growth functions, innovation, marketing, sales, or basically rewiring the how. So these are the two big brackets of AI for growth. Today, we will focus slightly more on the second, rewiring your growth functions as one coherent whole. But we will also touch upon a couple of things in the first bucket, for example, in the Duolingo case that we will share. So when we talk about AI for growth, we're kind of starting with what's typically called the front office. So all of the enterprise functions that are market oriented or value creating. Think about product, marketing, sales, customer service, etc. They might have different names in different industries, but you kind of roughly get the picture. And our point of view is that in terms of AI first transformation, you should always start with the front office. First, to define what is that new service model, the new business model, the new AI native product that you go to market with, and then based on that new blueprint, then refit the back office to support that, rather than just automating the current back office functions, whether that's in supply chain or finance or production. Because if you don't settle on the front office and that structure of the new AI native business model, service model, or whatever it is, you basically don't know what to optimize the back office or what to redesign the back office for. So in all of our AI first transformation work across companies, we would always start with the front office and then moving to the back office. So when we survey across many different companies and taking a step back maybe on what this autonomous growth system needs to address or solve for, is a couple of growth challenges that we see across the board. First of all, growth being too slow or too siloed, which might show up in terms of revenue growth lagging overall category or competitors' growth. a lot of clients struggling with marketing being stale, which signals through the customer acquisition cost going up, content velocity maybe too low, campaigns lacking personalization, or a matter of other issues. A lot of companies that are in need to developing AI native products and business models themselves, which might be triggered by new entrants coming into the market with an AI native product with a potential disruption opportunity. Agentic commerce we touched upon with the Walmart and the ChatGPT instant checkout example earlier is changing the game quite radically, as and when it opens up in other markets as well. So that's a really big theme. And then almost across all of the companies that I speak with is that many of them have adopted AI tools in their current ways of working, current workflows, but they haven't really moved the needle. So there's lots of AI tools stuck in either pilots, little impact on the P&L, little impact overall. So that's a really big challenge as well that we're seeing. So maybe just anchoring us in the problems that need solving, wanted to open it up to the audience as well and get your take on, out of these growth challenges, which resonates the most with you. You can submit more than one if more of these really resonate with you.
So it seems like there's quite a lot of votes for growth is too slow overall, and then AI tools have not moved the needle yet. And then I guess actually the leader now is the need to develop AI native products and business models. I feel like people chose that as their second choice when you said that, Phil. That's now become the leader. Let's see.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Can
a lot
we
of
show
those that said
the
no.
response screen? I'm seeing it here as well. Yeah, so I guess we have most votes in indeed the need to develop AI native products and business models was voted up the most. Super close with growth is too slow, and then followed by AI tools haven't moved the needle. Then agentic commerce is changing the game, and marketing being too stale as the least voted one. So it's great to get kind of anchored in the big challenges that you need solving for, or that you're seeing in the market. Being anchored in the challenges that need solving, what is this autonomous growth OS that we are kind of introducing? It's a new operating model that lets human teams and AI agents continuously innovate, market, and sell at the speed of AI, adapting in the moment to data, context, and buyer intent. So that's a bit of a mouthful, but I'm going to hand it over to Jeff, so he can talk us through a bit more of the specifics around that, and then bring it to life with 2 real-world examples as well.
Awesome. Okay, thank you, Phil. So in terms of bringing this to life a little bit, the autonomous growth OS. Really what this comes down to, as Phil mentioned, is how do you rewire the way that you innovate, market, and sell as a company? And so this is about thinking about what does it require in the autonomous age to innovate, to market, and sell, and then look at how those different capabilities work, but then how they come together in new ways. So when it comes to innovate, that is changing the autonomous age in that there is the potential to innovate and invent new types of products and services that didn't exist before. For example, generative experiences that are generated by AI in the moment, but new ways of actually being able to define products in concept generation, in simulation, in managing a portfolio of different products, as well as synthetic testing and feedback on product ideas and features and roadmaps for companies. So the second one is, how do you think about marketing? Marketing itself also looks different in the autonomous age. As Phil mentioned earlier, agentic commerce is real now, so you actually need to be marketing to humans and agents. that affects how you think about the way that you have content shared. That content has to be AI friendly. We'll get into some more examples around that. And then it also gets into how you actually think about modifying campaigns to the moment in which you are reaching a human or an agent. And then the way you think about selling is different too. So you need to be thinking about how can you be selling and optimizing where your product is, where your experience is sold, how you package up so that it is appealing to humans and agents, as well as actually starting to get into agentic negotiation, which is particularly important in the B2B space. And how do you actually negotiate proposals and packages of services in real time? So we'll take each of these in turn and then talk about how they come together in a rewired way. So when we think about innovating, we think about the ability for AI to actually generate ideas for products, test those, forecast trends. We've been doing a lot of work with companies. We've actually built custom tools for all of the things we list here in terms of developing product ideas, forecasting trends, getting into economic forecasting as well, simulating demand, and then actually building out a very early view as teams are figuring out what products to put effort behind on feasibility and viability through real-time validation. Equally, as I mentioned earlier, companies such as Notion, for example, are innovating how you actually define what a product is. So Notion, the kind of knowledge management tool and system for enterprises, is now shifting towards a new type of interface where it actually generates the interface for you in real time based on your usage and your behaviors. So it's not one interface, it's actually an interface that's generated for you in the moment. So that opens up a lot of new possibilities as far as what an experience even is today. In terms of how companies market, so Phil mentioned this earlier, there's this new to-do list for marketers. You have to market to humans and agents now. And agents themselves are not monolithic. You have to be thinking about how do you marketing in different ways to OpenAI, to Gemini and Anthropic, or whatever the model might be, and they all make decisions in different ways. There is a whole research realm opening up in terms of how agents make decisions, and it's not purely rational. You need to be thinking about, even as you're marketing to humans, how do you have dynamic campaigns that are modified in the moment based on what you can now learn about a consumer or a customer. And even things like websites, you need to be thinking about how do you have machine readable websites. So a lot of companies we work with are reorganizing their websites so that both humans and agents can read them and make sense of them, knowing that websites that are very easily structured for AI agents are much more likely to get cited in responses. In terms of how we think about selling, we think about how do you identify, once you have a product idea, where should it be distributed to? How do you think about distribution forecasting? So if you can spot a trend is in certain geographic areas, where does that mean the product needs to be? We'll get into an example of that in the real world with Walmart in a few minutes. Agentic negotiation in terms of how do you actually think about the way in which you negotiate pricing and features and packages of solutions in real time, as well as just real-time sales augmentation. So we've been working with a major food company around developing tools for them to be able to negotiate promotions with retailers in real time based on live product information. And a lot of the work there is actually how do you connect the different data sources that a salesperson needs in the moment in order to make the best proposal and proposition to a retailer. So there's a lot going on in each of these different areas. But the real opportunity is not actually to rewire these individual capabilities and think, how do I do innovation better? How do I do marketing better? How do I do sales better? It's actually to rewire how you innovate, market, and sell all at once and think about what's possible if you do all of those three things together. And so we'll get into some practical, some real world examples of how that works. So the first example we'll go through is an example with Walmart. So they have actually launched a new system called the Trend to Product Engine. This was deployed at scale in the spring of this year. It's actually an AI-enabled product design system that enables them initially in the fashion space to, around the design of garments and apparel, to do a few things incredibly well in a new way. So the first capability within this trend to product engine is that it actually has the ability to innovate. So it will pull in data around what's going on TikTok, around what's going on runways, around the weather, around all sorts of elements in real time, and use that to identify cultural themes, develop mood boards, and then actually generate product designs. So they are now actually shipping products on one of their biggest brands called No Boundaries, as they announced a few months ago, where they're actually shipping production-ready tech packs to suppliers that have been generated using AI. So this has dramatically increased their time to market, and their designers are no longer forecasting a year out what they're going to be selling. They're forecasting a few weeks out and then actually getting that to market much faster. And if you think about it, the data that's required to do that, to identify what the product should be, to design it, then means you can actually generate all of the marketing materials for that too. So the trend to product engine can also then generate all of the product information, the pricing. This can be subject to human review, but it's all generated in the moment. And then you can use marketing simulation, you can use feedback from e-commerce to then actually feedback into the product design process. So you can actually get feedback from e-commerce cart checkouts, for example, to feedback into the product design process to see what's actually selling or what's generating interest, even for products that aren't even available. So you've rewired the relationship between marketing and innovation. And then lastly, it actually figures out how to sell. So the same data that is used to figure out what's the right trend will then tell you where should this product be shipped, when is it needed, what's the right price for it. And then actually there's a dynamic feedback loop from the merchant and from the individual stores into the product development experience to identify which products are selling and which to scale up production thereof. And so you have a dynamic feedback loop that comes together. And so what that means is an entirely new operating system for how they manage fashion retail. Walmart are now looking at how they can roll this out more broadly across other product categories beyond the fashion space. So this trend to product engine was really about how do we build this entire realm of innovation, marketing, and sales in a new way in one category. And there was a point in the chat earlier around it being risky to innovate within customer-facing functions, which is absolutely true. And so Walmart identified this first category of fashion as one that they felt was very apt to be innovated because it's very trend-based, but then also because there's some interesting IP opportunities in that this means they can really enable a transformation in how they actually work with suppliers. So in the same way that they can generate a tech pack for production, they then own the IP on that, and they can actually create live auctions for suppliers to bid on in real time. So it changes the sales model, but then also actually changes the way they manage IP, and they become the IP owner in this business rather than suppliers themselves submitting designs which they own the IP on and Walmart approves. So it's a very different business model from the front office to the back office, and now they're looking to expand that across a range of different categories, all the categories, I guess, that Walmart does, which is pretty much every category. So that's a real world example in the manufacturing space, and a lot of different benefits for that. So what we'd like to think about now is when you think of the Autonomous Growth OS, which of the following benefits in the poll would be your number one priority? And so I think we'll launch the poll now, and be good to see how folks vote. Okay, so let's see, we've got some early votes coming in for accelerated growth, competitive edge. Competitive edge seems to be taking a pretty clear lead, as well as faster time to market. And that was certainly, I guess those were actually probably two of the main benefits for Walmart, the much faster time to market than roughly a year down to a number of weeks, as well as the ability to be able to scale this across different categories, having an edge in private label businesses, as well as the IP benefits from that as well. And there was a question earlier around how this model is also being applied in the healthcare space. So we've actually also been doing some work with Walmart around the launch of what's called Everyday Health Signals, which is a different model, but really all around how to use the same kind of real-time signals from the market in terms of people's purchasing habits, as well as any healthcare data that they may opt in to share to provide real-time advice, and then in partnership with their health insurance company, services on the back of that. So an example of how this same kind of model is playing out within healthcare in a highly regulated situation. Okay, so another example that's outside of the realm of manufacturing. So if you think about the Walmart example, there was a lot that was innovated within that model, but the item that people were buying was still a piece of clothing that was not AI generated, right? It was still a piece of clothing from a factory. We're going to go through another example around how this works in the digital realm, where you also have the ability to innovate what the thing is that you're actually marketing and selling. So for those of you who don't know, this is Duo. Duo is a friendly owl character from Duolingo. Duolingo is for those of you who don't know, it's a very widely used language learning app originally, but they're now getting into digital education around other areas like music, for example. And this is actually really a good example of a company that has gone through its own AI first transformation, particularly in the last 2 years around generative AI, to look at how they innovate, market, and sell differently, but also completely rewiring the way that the business works. So go through this in a few different ways. So if we think about how they innovate, so they have actually directly rewired the way they do product development within the company. So in just a year of rewiring the way that they did product development, they actually launched 148 new language courses in just 1 year, which was more than doubling their entire catalog that they built over more than a decade prior to that. They've then also been looking at launching new features, and we'll get into how they actually started these features, because they started as social media characters, but they came into the product in, for example, the launch of Lily. So Lily is now a premium feature. So this purple-haired teenager who's somewhat surly, she will actually chat with you in the language of your choice, whether that's Spanish or Korean or English, and actually work with you. And that is a dynamic, adaptive conversation that remembers context from previous calls, adjusts your skill level, but also maintains the character personality. So they're really innovating the way that the actual experience works. As it comes to marketing, Duolingo is sort of this remarkable master of in-the-moment conversation and marketing. So I'm actually a frequent user of Duolingo right now. I'm on a 101-day streak with Duolingo, which is I'm very proud of. And what that means is that I have a large thing on the top of my screen saying 101. And throughout the day, Duo will change its facial expression and get progressively more angry throughout the day if I haven't done my Duolingo yet, right? So they're literally in the moment changing the way that they communicate with me to basically deliberately nudge me to use their product. They also have innovated the actual way they do marketing campaigns. So they have a very active social presence, which they use basically as a way of feeding their product roadmap in terms of the comments that they get from users, but they have a very rapid campaign time to market. So when the TikTok ban issue was going on back in January, they were very fast to market with a campaign all around around learning Chinese, which led to a 200% jump in the number of people learning Chinese on their platform. As it relates to selling, what they've developed out is an API-based way of monetizing their product and serving it in different ways with different audiences. So two ways for that. One is actually a free service they're offering to schools. It's a comprehensive platform that enables Duolingo-based courses to be distributed through schools, which gives them a massive user base to learn from, brand loyalty, but then also a lot of data from the actual product usage to feed into their roadmap. Equally, more from a monetization standpoint, they're actually now selling integrated API-based corporate training programs around languages and other skills that are looking to develop courses around. And they're really developing beyond languages with the use of AI to support that. And so we think about that, some of the ways that these things stitch together, they are actually rewiring the relationship between how they innovate, market, and sell. So one of the things I mentioned was the comment section in their socials. So there's a quote from somebody at Duolingo saying, "The comment section is our social brief. So this is a direct pipeline from the user voice back into the roadmap." They have an engine called BirdBrain, which enables the adaptive learning for an individual, but that also actually adapts the product roadmap for everyone as well. And so this is a proprietary machine learning model, which is used to modify the experience, but also identify what features and new courses need to be developed. Their social characters actually become product features. So they use the social feed to test out different characters and then feed those like Lily, like Duo. They just started out as characters and then became parts of the product features. And actually premium services like Lily, for example, it's a premium add-on. And then all of the new sales channels actually inform the product too. So all of the data from free school usage feeds back into the product pipeline as well. And so all of this shows Duolingo have really taken this seriously from a technology standpoint, but it shows how this is actually much more than just an IT project. This is really about a business transformation for them as a company. So we've talked a lot about all of the different opportunities, how this overcomes barriers to growth. Now we're going to talk, and we're going to shift gears and talk about what it takes to get started. And I think the first thing is to think about the mindset that you have to be in order to get going on this journey. So the idea that you can achieve the outcomes like a Walmart or a Duolingo without changing the way that you work is really not an option for companies to consider. So you actually can't work at the speed of AI when you stay organized the same way. So we think of AI working at the clock speed of seconds, people working in hours and days, and current org structures working in weeks and months. And so if we think about at Walmart, when they have their trend to product engine, if you could actually design an entire line of clothing in 10 minutes, which is possible, then it doesn't make sense for you to have a 1-year time to market process, which is based on sequential steps. You need to redesign the way you work, and then you actually need to redesign the way that the AI systems work in order to reflect what's possible from an AI standpoint, not just automate the existing process. So this mindset shift works out in a few ways. The first one is to think about shifting your mindset from optimizing the existing functions to a rewired system for growth. So you might want to think about not just automating individual roles, but which roles need to exist and what outcomes are they trying to achieve. This means that you move from the automation of legacy processes to how do you actually reinvent what those workflows should be, and are they done in a different order? Typically, this involves a lot of autonomous feedback loops. So as we mentioned with Walmart, they have feedback loops from marketing simulation and e-commerce back into their product design process, and the same at Duolingo. They use a lot of data from their BirdBrain engine to figure out which features and course development efforts they should prioritize. And then it shifts the mindset from a strategy standpoint from prioritization of AI use cases to actually thinking about, well, which areas of our business and which functions should we transform first, rather than looking at individual tools or point solutions or use cases that you should be innovating. The good news, I guess, is that there's research to back all of this up too. So McKinsey released a report this year which showed that companies that actually redesign workflows in AI implementations achieve 3 times higher revenue per employee growth than companies that just focus on automating current experiences. And we've seen from our own work with clients that if you rethink these workflows, you achieve faster time to market, as well as more proprietary competitive edge in the market as well. The way that this comes to life in terms of an actual journey, if we take the example of how Walmart developed their trend to product engine, it started with a vision of what fashion retail should look like in the future. So it didn't start with, well, here's the design process, where do we stitch on tools? It started with, if AI can do X, Y, and Z, what does the business look like, and what are the possibilities of that? And then we identified, even within the selection of fashion as a discipline, where was the right place to start that transformation. Then actually building and implementing tools and workflows within one brand. And then now they're actually working on the real rewiring of all of the processes. So I mentioned like live supplier auctions and how they look at the transformation of procurement. All of that stuff happens in parallel once you've actually started to identify that there's something there and there's real demand in the market for it. And so in terms of setting that vision, as I mentioned, it's about what would growth look like when humans and agents can actually co-drive demand and when they can do things that weren't possible before. What are the types of products and services or experiences that could only exist because of AI? And then figuring out from there, what does that mean in terms of a rewiring standpoint, and what do the back office functions need to do in order to support that model that we've just defined? And for Walmart, this was a very iterative process. It's not like you do a strategy document and then you build everything for that. You actually build, you test, you use, and then you iterate that vision through the actual deployment and usage of it, just from a feedback and learning standpoint. And then in terms of thinking about the enablement of this from a talent standpoint, it's about thinking about how do you build AI literacy and that's not just about like how do people learn how to do prompt engineering, that's how do they understand their role as a collaborator alongside AI and what does their work need to look like. It's about how do you figure out, instead of hiring just AI talent, how do you transform your existing people into people who are familiar and used to working with AI. From an ethics standpoint, both for Duolingo and Walmart, they need to be thinking through how they actually have safety protocols in place around design issues, content issues, brand and public trust around all those things as well. There's a lot of data architecture modernization that needs to be done in order to enable that, as well as the ability to stay flexible. And so, for example, with Walmart, they really think about how do they have a modular platform that can evolve as models themselves evolve. And then the last piece, which was really important in both instances, is how do you think about redesigning the way that teams work to make this possible? So when you think about the way that designers work at Walmart with trend to product, it's a different design process. You have different skills required. And this was a big part of the transformation that Duolingo has been through over the last 2 years as well. So those are some of the steps that we think about going through in order to get started on this journey. And I'll hand over to Phil now.
Yes, thanks a lot, Jeff, for taking us through the Autonomous Growth OS and some real-life examples. Just here to wrap it all up and maybe zoom out again before we engage in the Q&A. Quite a lot of interesting questions coming through. So just on the back of the story that Jeff was just sharing, like this is a quote that I've shared before, but it's a rule of thumb that we use across AI transformation programs, that for every dollar you invest in tech, invest $2 in people and change. Think about that slide with the different clock speeds. In order to work at the speed of AI in seconds or minutes, you will need to change the human behavior, the human collaboration around it, but especially your organizational model to match the speed of AI. Then just to take it away, our final 3 takeaways from this webinar. First of all, we established that in our minds, automating the old growth model doesn't work. There is a vastly new reality. Just thinking about agentic commerce alone, like that's an entirely new playing field where products are being bought in conversations. And I know that seems like it's just B2C at the moment, but we know that in B2B, purchasing and procurement as well, there's development on AI agents, conversational agents, agentic negotiation, etc. So it's very much a B2C and B2B thing. We made the point that leaders are rewiring how they innovate, market, and sell all at once. So not just developing point solutions or adopting AI tools for parts of a marketing process or a sales process or an innovation or product process, but thinking about them coherently and working at the speed of AI across those. And then as a last point, we shared the advice to always start with rewiring the growth functions, product innovation, marketing, sales, etc., which can then lead to wider enterprise transformation across the back office functions, but then you know what to redesign the back office functions for in terms of your new AI first business model, service model, product, or what that might be for your company. So wrapping it up there, and wanted to leave with you two QR codes and links as well for the tickets for Autonomous if you're interested, and to connect with us on LinkedIn secondly. But definitely wanted to pick up on a couple of questions that were shared, and if you have other questions, feel free to drop them in the Q&A section. We want to wrap it up by 10 minutes before the hour, but we do have some room for questions. Now, there was one question from Enrique about human versus AI generated content that I wanted to quickly tap on, because I was just reading a new study done by Google Research that compared in a marketing context, AI generated ads, human generated ads, and then human generated ads that were where AI was used for review and improvement. And actually the results, to me at least, were counterintuitive, because you might think that the last category of human generated ads, and then with AI additions and suggestions, which is often how we currently use AI systems, but in a blinded consumer test, they actually scored the least. So the best scoring ads were the 100% AI generated content or ads, then the purely human generated content and ads, and then the hybridly generated ones. Not saying these are universal results across all types of ads or content, but I thought it was striking as a result. And just to illustrate that there's also a lot that we're still researching about, and that obviously the AI models are evolving so rapidly that we continuously need to research what is working, what's not, and adapt our views around it. Maybe another one from Robbie, and then Jeff, I'll let you take a question as well. Robbie, you asked about how, on the back of the Walmart example, how to prep people and bring people along if this cultural and people change management is actually the hardest part of the job. And yeah, it's a super valid question. Maybe answering that with the example of the other case that we shared, Duolingo. I think it all starts with a transformative message for buy-in from the top. So Duolingo's CEO actually made a very strong memo that he shared with all of the employees at Duolingo on how they were not becoming, but an AI first company at that point in time, what the core principles were for everyone taking on any job, to always start with an AI first mindset, what that specifically means. And that he was requesting or demanding for everyone to be on board with that and commit to that. And that was a very strong statement, which also got circulated online, so you can find that memo as an example. But I think that's obviously just one element, like a strong mandate and mission coming from the top. And then there's a lot of other enablement programs around a lot of the AI first systems that we build. There's always a change management track around adoption, bringing people along in both the design of the new system, in testing of the new system, and then obviously in the rollout of the system. So it's not a black box solution, but people are actually involved in the building and rolling it out of it as well. Jeff, have you picked up on any other questions that you want to give some voice over to?
Yeah, and I'd say maybe on the mindset piece too, I think in the case with Walmart, I think really there was sort of a prerequisite that it became very clear in mapping out the existing process that that wasn't really a process anyone liked or wanted to optimize. So I think it really helped to identify what were the things that people hated about the current process, which was a lot of things, in order to have that as a starting point. A couple more questions. Is the Walmart example similar to Shein? It is somewhat similar to that. I'd say much more integration with store distribution and more human checks in the process too, which was something that Shein have struggled with. The sort of human AI safety process, I would say. And then Neda had a question around, is this about new sources of growth? I think it can obviously apply in there, especially in trend-driven areas like fashion. I know for Walmart, as an example, as they're looking to apply this model to other areas where it's more about, it's not about like launching new laundry detergents, let's say, every day or every week, less trend-based businesses. It's more about how do you actually optimize the marketing, communications, pricing, distribution, and assortment of those existing products in real time, rather than looking at new sources of growth or new product development. So I think it applies in different ways in those contexts.
So coming through are two questions around how does this also apply to pharma or healthcare, and are there any examples in that? Without going too deep in that, but we are effectively working on this with companies like Pfizer, MSD, and others. Obviously, that loop from innovation, marketing, and sales operates at a different speed than in fashion or in digital products. In the both examples shared here, your drug discovery process is a different kind of product development process, so that takes longer. But you do have quicker, where AI obviously definitely speeds that up as well. But you definitely have a lot of this on the marketing and sales side. For example, AI in all different touch points in customer experience, etc. So I would say this equally applies to those industries and any other industry, but obviously the application of it is different given the industry context and also the speed at which it's operating.
Yeah, and actually I would say sometimes the opportunities are different in healthcare. So like within healthcare, a lot of, let's say, pharmaceutical companies, they have a lot of constraints in how they can actually do research and communicate with say providers or patients. The value of simulation is very important there because they can actually simulate feedback based on pre-existing data, rather than actually running very extensive testing processes, which are very hard for them to coordinate as well. So benefits are different in healthcare too.
Yeah, maybe just saw another question coming in, and maybe that could be the last question before we wrap up, or maybe one more. Coming through from James, what sort of metrics would you propose for companies to monitor the before and after of innovation markets and cell transformation? So obviously different client to client, but some of the metrics that we're seeing is a lower cost of acquisition, a higher customer lifetime value, a faster time to market, which definitely in fashion and being on trend and having more of an on-demand, on-trend model is super important to them. Customer engagement, if you think about the Spotify example, doubling engagement year over year. Duolingo as well. I'm sure Jeff would have engaged way less with Duolingo and probably resulting in a bigger churn if they hadn't all those AI first features and experience elements that he just talked through. So in that case, it would be higher engagement, lower churn. So obviously there are often cost KPIs as well, taking down the cost of working with external agencies for insights, ideation, or whatever it is, campaign generation, etc. So that's definitely on the table as well. But most of them are around higher growth rather than cost optimization. Maybe on that note, we're just 10 minutes before the hour. Wanted to wrap up here, but wanted to thank everyone for joining us, listening to the story. Hope it was useful. If you have any other questions that we didn't get to or want to know more about anything that we shared, feel free to find us on LinkedIn or via email, and happy to engage with you. But for now, thank you very much. I wish you a lovely rest of the day.
Thanks, everyone.